Right, so one of the reasons why I started making this vlogging channel, why I started uploading videos, is because a couple of weeks ago I noticed that there was some bizarre glitch. Maybe it's not a glitch, maybe it's intentional. There was some kind of a loophole in the YouTube algorithm which was rather interesting and quite refreshing. So I started to notice a few weeks ago that in my recommended video feeds, I was getting videos from new and obscure channels, some with little to no subscribers or views. And I found this very refreshing and intriguing because it's a break. It's a really refreshing break from the kind of crap that I normally get from those big content creators, you know, with lots of money and a whole PR team and stuff, who've figured out every psychological method of exploiting your attention span with those annoying and obnoxious clickbait thumbnails and titles, especially, you know, like Mr. Beast with his wide open mouthed expression, like, and usually with some annoying title that's designed to be provocative, like, I let my 10-year-old niece stay on Jeffrey Epstein's private island, or I let a pit bull loose in a neighborhood full of children, stuff like that. I mean, I'm kind of exaggerating here, but you guys get the point. But lately what I've been seeing is I've been seeing a lot of video logs, mainly from young teenagers or adult men. I think actually all ages, in fact. Most of them vlogging in a style not dissimilar to how I am now. A lot of them would talk in front of a smartphone camera, usually in the seat of their car, which I used to think was a little bit bizarre. Why is it that they always make the vlog inside their car? But then I thought about it some more and I realized there is no... what other more convenient places are there to vlog than inside your car? Nobody can hear you. You don't have to worry about getting into trouble with the law by vlogging while you're driving, because I think that's technically illegal, although that doesn't stop other people out there from doing it. And I have a perfect driving record so far, so I'm not sure I feel comfortable vlogging while I'm driving, because I like to have my attention on the road fully. But I was so intrigued. I felt like I'd been falling down a series of rabbit holes, and it's really interesting the kinds of people I've been introduced to. It's for the first time in a very long time, probably since the very early days of YouTube, I'm being introduced to real people with real stories. People who don't have $1 million budget and a PR team behind them, and they have their whole slew of editing tricks and whatnot. People who are giving me their unvarnished and unfiltered perception of reality. And that's something I really appreciate, because I like real people with real stories. There's something really, really enchanting about hearing strangers from other parts of the world open up in front of the camera and disclose their personal vulnerabilities or their own takes about life. It's something that we don't often hear, because a lot of people are quite nervous and afraid of doing this sort of thing. By putting your own face in front of a camera, you're inviting yourself to open ridicule and judgment and mockery. Of course, most people aren't likely to do that, but there are some people who are, and we have a tendency to self-censor. We watch what we say a lot of the time because we don't want to run the risk of putting ourselves out there and getting flack. And that's one of the main reasons why I was afraid for many years to do this sort of thing, because I had this channel which I'd run for many years, basically a decade, where I made these other kinds of very, very silly, very cringe, retarded videos. It's still up. It's mainly things like obscure memes, anime stuff, and YouTube poops. If you know what that is, well then you know. I won't bother talking about that here. But but a lot of the time I felt like while I was running that channel, I'd sort of cultivated a persona. I had developed a character which I had to maintain for the sake of running my channel, because there were other sides to me that I didn't want people to know too much about. Things like my view on, well, reality, existentialism, and consciousness. Listen to me, existentialism. I sound like a philosophy major. Basically, my thoughts on being alive. The random philosophical musings that I have that pop into my head from time to time. And things like my favorite music, the kind of person I am. And it's too much effort. For a while, it was fun, it was engaging. I did grow a small audience over time. And to this day, the channel still has 7,500 subscribers, but it plateaued some time ago, and I realized that it's all too much effort. I tend to fuss and fret over the small stuff. I really sweat over the small things, like video editing, choosing what thumbnail to use, choosing what to talk about, and how to discuss it. And there have been lots of times where, while I was running that channel, I would encounter people who liked my videos, but then they would find out something about my own beliefs, which would disgust and horrify them, and they would never speak to me again. It's a very sad consequence, I think. Largely, it's a result of living in the age that we live in now. We live in a very tribal and polarizing time where there's an increasing sort of hollowing out of the middle. There's two sides that are emerging in what may become a cataclysmic global conflict of some kind. It's hard to say what will come of this, but there is a gulf. There's an enormous emerging gulf between two types of people who have very different opinions, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to conflict mediate or, to be a friend to everyone, because the world is different now. There's a lot of cynical exploitation and manipulation by people who work in the media and social media. I spoke about this in my earlier video about why I deleted Discord and Twitter. People are being turned against each other. The world is very different now. It's kind of scary. I mean, when you consider all the violence that's going on in the UK we had a few months ago, and in America, where shootings have become so common that they scarcely make the headlines anymore. So that's why I felt like I needed a break, and I needed to break the mold and try something new. That's one of the reasons why I felt inspired to ramble in front of my camera like this. And it's really interesting. I didn't expect my channel to pick up so far, but even now, already, last time I checked, I have 8 subscribers now, or it might have been 7, and I've gotten comments from people from many different parts of the world. There's one chap who commented on my video where I talked about being a postman. I forget his exact handle, something like AB-7KWB. I might need to double check that. It looks like one of those auto-generated names. But he told me he was from Colorado in the United States. Now, what's a guy from Colorado in America doing on my channel? How did he end up there? I think it's fascinating that the YouTube algorithm is doing this, and I consider it a happy accident. I'm very happy that you've discovered my channel, Mr. AB. I don't know if you plan to stick around. I don't know if I can entertain you to the point where you want to hear more from me, but I'm glad that we've met, and I'm glad that you and we're real people who are discovering each other in spite of YouTube's revenue-generating business model, which tends to attract people to channels that already generate attention from the public for the sake of making money. But now it feels like something is different. Or maybe not. It could just be that my experiences, there's some kind of weird algorithmic glitch that's occurred to me that I don't know how many other people are experiencing this. It is a bit weird, but it feels like YouTube is sort of becoming what it originally set out to be. YouTube, where you're broadcasting yourself. I don't know if any people remember, but that used to be YouTube's original ethos back when it was founded in 2005. It feels like those times are back. I'm really pleased. I don't regret setting up this channel anymore. Now, because I'm a real person with real stories, it's inevitable at some point I'm going to come across people who don't like me. Some people who don't like my physical appearance. They think I have dumb, retarded takes on the state of the world. People calling me all sorts of names and stuff. But I'm 30 years old now, and there's a memorable quote, I think, from the movie Home Alone, where Kevin talks to this old man whose name I forget, who has a sort of eerie antagonistic presence, but when he speaks to him, he's actually a very down-to-earth individual. And we find out that this old man, he hasn't spoken to his brother or his family in a very long time because he's afraid. But Kevin says to him, "Aren't you too old to be afraid?" Now think about that. I'm 30 years old now. 30 years old, I think, for me, it's too old to be afraid of what other people think. At what point do you suddenly realize, why should I be preoccupied with the opinions of other people? People are going to hate me. Because that's what some people do. But I shouldn't let that get in the way of communicating my truth, my perception of reality to the world. Some people might resonate with the things that I have to say. I don't claim to be an expert. I don't claim to be a genius. I'm just a guy who has a lot of daydreams and a lot of random, arbitrary philosophical musings. I have a lot of interesting experiences. I have a lot of dirty laundry that I like to air out, and my mood swings are quite random and unpredictable, and I want to keep track of them. I want to document what goes on in my life so that I can look back in the future and think back on how different I was. Because I don't think that my views will remain constant over time. I think there will be some changes, and I'm interested to find out what those are. And there've been a couple of other people I've been introduced to as well. There was somebody from Germany who spoke on my Postman video, and there was another girl. There was another content creator, a female content creator by the name of Bailey Schildbach. I think she's American, and judging by the sounds of her last name, she's probably from Minnesota, or a place where lots of Germans live with a name like that. Who only has a handful of subscribers, but her channel is definitely picking up attention and traffic. I think she makes content where she talks about positivity, and I think she gives constructive advice to people who feel down and upset. Now, I'm not really about that kind of stuff because I consider myself to be more of a realist. I think trying to give out messages of positivity without understanding, well, I don't mean any ill will towards her. I'm sure there are lots of people who take a lot of things from her videos, and I hope her channel grows well. But that's not the kind of stuff I'm going to be doing. Because I believe the world is a lot more nuanced, and there are lots of problems that can't be fixed or resolved simply by adopting a positive mindset. I think the world, it can be quite bleak and quite awful, but I have lots of theories as to why I think that is. So my stuff is going to be, cut from a different cloth. But all the same, I wish I well. I think it's very interesting that I got introduced to her channel, because she's still fairly quite obscure, although I bet come a few years' time she'll have lots of viewers, and she'll probably be raking a lot of cash from ad revenue, because she seems quite productive, and she's a real person with real stories. Anyway, if this ever happens to you, if you find that your YouTube algorithm is recommending to you relatively obscure content from up-and-coming creators who are just talking about random stuff in your car, and if you're curious to find out more, I recommend you click on them and find out, because it can broaden and open your perspective. You can immerse yourself. You can you can leave your frame of reference and discover more about random passers-by on the internet and learn about how they see things. It might unintentionally teach you a few things that you never knew about yourself and about how other people operate. You might find new undiscovered gems that YouTube doesn't normally want you to see, or that the algorithm makes it realistically improbable that you'd come across by accident. Anyway, I gotta shoot off and collect mail in a couple of minutes, so I'm gonna leave it there for now. But I'll see you guys later when I'm back with another idea for a video. You guys take care, okay?